All right, we can start now.
Cool. So I'm not sure how you guys like to do these.
I
You guys
was
are feel
I was about
sorry, go
to
ahead.
explain. No,
Yeah, please go ahead.
so basically, like what we do is like you explain the project, like a short introduction of yourself, the team, and then I'll come up with like the more frequently asked questions and also some question I have or we already ask when we talk about the project.
Yeah.
And there's the thread where people are gonna just ask their questions during the AMA. So yeah,
Sweet.
just like
Um,
the stage is yours. Introduce yourself, the
cool.
team, and the
Appreciate that.
project.
Yeah, here, let me send the Discord as well. One sec. Yeah, so I sent our white paper, our website, and our Discord
Yep,
in
perfect.
the Ravendawn Eternal AMA channel.
Yeah, and also like agent, it's all like all those links are on the announcement I made earlier, like explaining the project.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, so to introduce myself and our team. We've been a studio for 7 years now in Web 2 space. Just a little under 6 years ago, we started the development of Ravendawn, which is a top-down MMORPG. The game was built to be hyper modular and player driven. Essentially, all the assets in the game are incredibly modular, allowing us to create content incredibly fast. Also, it allows us to have different dynamic environments around the game world. So destruction of different parts of the game world, open world house building, the ability to customize your house, stuff like that. A year and a half ago, we announced the project publicly. It within a couple of months, we built out a Discord of about 18,000 people,
Mm-hmm.
100,000 on our mailing list. Um, Completely organic, no marketing or any dollar spent on advertising. A year ago, when blockchain gaming and the Web3 space really started to take off, our community was essentially asking daily for us to integrate play and earn features or NFT features. We At first we were a little bit hesitant because the space was incredibly new, and from what we saw in the space, it was not super appealing in the sense of just a lot of crap going on in the space.
Yeah, then
La-
every time something new is coming, like fear is coming too. So that's like normal reaction.
Yeah, 100%. And about last fall, we did a little bit of a deeper dive into the space. We're a pretty large studio. We just as of this morning actually hired our 50th full time staff. We have 60, including part timers, and we have our own small kind of research team in our studio.
Mm-hmm.
And so we did a little bit of research into the space and found that it was heavily dominated by vaporware and a lot of scam crap out there. And we looked at it as that kind of an opportunity. We saw it as a space that was incredibly interesting. And the truth is, the planar and model in general makes a ton of sense for game development, but also, especially in the MMORPG space. If anyone here are gamers or especially MMO players, you know that it's an inherent part of MMOs and it tends to be quite a big part of the game itself.
Mm-hmm.
And so it just absolutely makes sense for that type of game itself as well. MMOs are generally very heavily economy driven and already build out good economy cycles. So adding play and earn to it actually comes super organic. It doesn't feel like you kind of have to force squeeze it. And so about 4 months ago, we announced a fork of the project, which is essentially in the Web3 space, named Ravendawn Eternal. So if you look us up, there's Ravendawn Online, which is the Web 2 version, and Ravendawn Eternal, which is the Web 3. Now to this point, the Web 3 version has quickly surpassed the popularity of the Web 2 version. I believe we have about 25,000 members. Yeah, just under 25,000 members. And we still have yet to do our marketing push. Our marketing push will be starting next week. We just did our first, budget of 100K towards content creators, and there'll be a lot more of that pretty soon here. The interesting part, I think, about our project is we have a very long time developed game. Again, MMORPGs are very large scale games to begin with, so they take their time to be developed. But we've gone through those development cycles. We've had a year now of alpha testing, no NDA, so all of this stuff is public. And we're essentially in the polishing phase now with the game. And what's kind of interesting about that is, we just closed a 3.2 million raise. And with everything we bring in, we're not just having to use it towards development. You know, we bring in
Mm-hmm.
a certain amount of money, and it's not that we're funding the actual game or paying ourselves to develop it. We're able to use that strategically, right? So we're building out a treasury to keep the floor of the token strong. You know, a lot of it will be used on the marketing side. We're building out an animated trailer right now. So I think that puts us in a little bit of a unique position where we do have a near finished project that is essentially being polished, and are able to use those funds strategically. To also update you guys, we did just open up our land sale whitelist applications over this past weekend, and so we are approaching our land sale in about a month here. Yeah, with that, I think that kind of shares a bit about us and what we're doing. Yeah, I would love to see if you guys have any questions or anything like that.
Just maybe like explain the concept of Ravendawn Eternal. What is it exactly?
Yeah, for sure. So I can send here. I'll send with a lot of the stuff. I like to have graphics kind of showcasing a little bit of the stuff we do. Yeah. Here, actually, I can just share my screen. Wait,
no,
am I able?
No, we can just jump on the boardroom, like the other channel, because on the iMid Discord doesn't allow people to share like.
Oh yeah, I mean it's not a huge deal. You guys can just follow along if you want. But with Ravendawn Eternal, again, it's not a simple click and earn project. It is a full scale MMORPG, and with that, you know, that's kind of how we see the future of the space going. Right now, most the space is a lot of click and earn / passive games. It's not a lot of games that people actually want to play. I think one of the interesting things with what we've done is we have over 2,000 alpha testers on Ravendawn online already. And those are all people that have paid $100 to essentially get access to testing.
Okay.
You know, we already have a community that loves the game, is passionate about the game. So really the way that we're approaching the space is what we think the future of the space will be are game first projects. So not projects that are just there to make some money for the user. Because really the problem with that is as soon as there's not money to be made or not enough money to be made, the game dies rapidly. So the way we're really approaching it is you know, we have a game that people already want to play and people already love. And we see, you know, the earning side is essentially cherry on top. Don't get me wrong, if a game blows up, that earning side can always be enormous. Yeah. But what's important is we have that strong foundation where regardless is it earning or not, people enjoy the game itself as it is. And again, if you can play for an evening and buy your lunch the next day, well, that's awesome. Yeah, getting into kind of how the game works. There's essentially 3 economy cycles in the game. Again, a little bit more complicated than a simple click and earn game. If you guys look at the graphic, did we look at Axe and see not how to tournaments? Yes, very much so. What you'll see is actually in the economy cycles, we show how we keep stable economies in the game. Because yeah, you know, with that kind of the timing, we look at ourselves as like probably the best timing that any project could have. We're coming into still a rapidly changing and very new space, but we've also been able to do a lot of case studies on projects that did succeed and ones that didn't, and the ones that did succeed, how they didn't set up their proper longevity. So anyways, with that, we kind of have 3 cycles in the game. You guys can go through these on your own if you're curious. I'll go pretty lightly through them. But the first one is the combat cycle. What this kind of shows, what each of these cycles show is the standard player progression cycle. So you can see it starts with player-driven crafting. All equipment in the game is created by players. That crafted equipment is required for combat systems or world events. Through participating in combat, whether it's PvP, arena, PvE, questing, you are required to repair your equipment, which is essentially a burning / recycling mechanic of the token. Crafting equipment also requires token burning and recycling. And with that, one thing that we show in this graphic is how our land is utilized. Our land is in every economy cycle in the game. Land it adds some form of value to it. So in the combat cycle, it allows you to create stronger equipment. It gives you a higher quality output. Moving down to our trading cycle, the second slide. This one's a little bit more complex, but this is what we feel is kind of key in the play and earn space. Ravendawn was designed to be a fully player-driven game 5 years ago. With that, essentially every resource in the game, whether it's iron ore, wheat, dairy milk, chicken eggs, whatever you can generate in the game, they can be packaged up into what we call trade packs. It's very
Okay.
simple. Essentially, a larger quantity of a certain item can be turned into a package. And then that package can be moved around the game world to different trade posts using a mount or ship. The game is fully open world and completely unfazed. So you're able to go from land to ship to island, wherever you want. And with that, when they're sold at those trade posts, we actually have a self-balancing algorithm where anytime a product is sold, the value of that product globally across all servers goes down and the value of all other products goes up. What this does is essentially simulates a real world supply and demand economy, which we feel is incredibly important in the play internet space because it has that self-balancing mechanic for essentially the resources in the game. So as developers, we don't have to consistently intervene in the game and nerf iron or buff wood or anything like that. Essentially, the economy decides itself, which is incredibly important. With that, our land, which are NFTs, they essentially allow production of resources. So you can grow animals on your or raise animals on your land, whether it's pigs or sheep or chickens. You can grow crops on your land. Have an orchard, all that kind of stuff. Again, the land is hyper modular, so what you do with it is completely up to you. Build a house on it. You can design your rooms. There's different collectibles you can have. Yeah, super. Yeah, play this instead of Vampire Survivors. Yeah, I appreciate that. With that, yeah. Here, I'll say things. But anyways, with that, that's essentially the trade pack cycle. That's our more complicated cycle. The last one is our worker cycle. This is much more akin to a passive idle game. And it's essentially a feature in the game that is, having a mass accessibility is super important to building out a strong play and earn game. And so with that, it kind of targets that person who does just want to play 10 minutes on transit or 5 minutes during their lunch break or whatever. And essentially the way this works is we have over 500,000 different modular variations of what we call worker cards. And essentially these workers also can have up to 1 million trait combinations, whether it, they have more strength, more stamina, more luck, higher speed. They have different traits, which make them maybe better miners or better woodcutters. And with that, with these workers, you essentially send them different nodes around the game world, whether it's a mining node or a gathering node or a husbandry node. And if any of you have played BDO, you know this system. But essentially with that, after a set amount of time, they return and they bring you different resources, and they also earn our token. With that, land is required to rest workers, and they also use food. So really, I went pretty quick through it, but I hope you have a general idea of just the way that we imagine the different cycles in the game, but also how important it is to constantly having burning mechanics throughout every cycle to make sure that the token stays strong over our term. Our team does have a 50-month position in the project vested with a longer cliff than any of our investors. We feel incredibly passionate about the project and what we're doing with it, and are very confident in the long term of the project. Again, as a studio, this has been our flagship game, and we've worked on it for nearly 6 years. So the longevity of the project, I think, carries a different level of weight to our team than a lot of projects do. I think a lot of studios, you see them very quickly kind of jumping from thing to thing, and also a lot of the games, are be developing in 3 months. I think we bring something different to the table because of that, and can actually stand behind our project.
Yeah, okay, cool. Like, it's nice to see studio with experience before that, because like you said, some studio just popped out or teams are saying, yeah, we have a game coming in hot, and they've been working on it for 3 months.
Oh, it's great. Like, and I think, right now it's not, like, honestly, it's not hard to find funding in this space right now because it is growing rapidly. But we've had a lot of like all of our partners, like they're involved in a lot of projects that they very quickly realized the team has no idea what they're doing, because like a lot of them, they're not even really traditional game development teams. They bring in 1 or 2 people that know how to develop a game, and that's kind of where the buck stops. And really they're just trying to raise money for a concept, right? That could be 5 years until the game's done. And this space is evolving too rapidly for that. So I think we bring an interesting proposal on that side. The one other thing I'll share with you guys too is 2 secs here. The other thing too around our project, I'll just send a screenshot of it here. So one thing that our studio is trying to do is somewhat reimagine NFT utility and value. One of the big things right now with projects selling land is they drop land for a certain title, and the buck kind of stops there. And so something with Ravendawn that we're doing is, we've been developing the game for 6 years now,
Yep.
and so we've built out prototypes for other projects that essentially were planned to be already in an ecoverse, again outside of the Web3 space. But with our NFTs, essentially, we have 3 projects in a 5-year roadmap right now. These are much smaller games than Ravendawn Eternal. You can kind of imagine it as Ravendawn Eternal as the sun, and Ravendawn Battler, Tactics, and Duels, our 3 upcoming projects, are all kind of like planets revolving around that sun. Ravendawn Eternal is that primary ecosystem, but what we want to do is we want to see that kind of 5-year roadmap of not only building out kind of value to our land and our NFTs in Ravendawn Eternal, but also with these other projects. So essentially, all the land and all our NFTs in Ravendawn Eternal will have utility in all ecosystem projects. And our goal there is essentially, again, through that roadmap, building out more utility and more value to that land. That essentially, yeah.
And here on the graph you just sent, so I see like 4 released on
Yeah.
like what period of time like do you expect to have those 4?
Yeah, so this is our 5-year roadmap.
Okay.
Again, as I said, Ravendawn Eternal is essentially the son of that, in the sense of, MMORPGs are organically already massive games.
Yep.
Where these side projects are much simpler for us to release, but also, we're able to use the same assets from the game. We're able to use the same NFTs, but still be, intriguing games and games that people are excited about. Tactics is very akin to Final Fantasy Tactics. If anyone's played that or remembers that from their childhood. Ravendawn Duels is essentially a card game, and Battler is somewhat of an auto chest idle game hybrid. And with this, we're pitching Ravendawn Eternal as the game, but it's always interesting when there's other games that fit in the same ecoverse, and those NFTs can have crossover, and especially if you're a fan of these other types of games. So.
Yep. And maybe details about like I would say the character, the species in the game, like for those who
yeah,
like,
I mean,
kind of information.
Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, I can share a few other videos kind of show more about the game. We have over 500 creatures in the game already. In terms of kind of the stonks, there we go. In terms of essentially the game itself, humanoid is the playable character race. However, the game itself, we're a fully classless system, so you don't pick a certain class at the start of the game. Essentially, you pick one of 8 archetypes. With this, you build out 3 archetypes as you progress through the game, and that builds your class. So whether you want to take, Holy, which is kind of a healing archetype, with Warfare, which is a heavily weapon-based archetype, and then Protection, which is a kind of, tanking archetype, and build out a Paladin class. That's essentially how it works. So there's 56 pseudo classes in the game, but within that, you have your own talent trees within each archetype, so you can be heavier in one or the other. With that, there's also a fully weapon type system where you don't have to use a staff as a wizard, or you don't have to use a dagger as a rogue type class. You're able to kind of use whatever you want, and with that, they all have their own inherent benefits. Again, the kind of depth in the game is quite extreme. We did build it as being a super modular game with character customization as one of the core principles. I think that fits really well in this current space because it does allow interesting options. But we built this game because a lot of us were just tired of the theme park MMOs that are starting to become more and more standard in the space. Yep. We wanted to bring back that old school MMO feel, but with kind of a modern take on it. Yeah.
And talking like about the estates, what would be like let's say I want to have like a small one. Would it be better to have like many different small one, or just buy a large one first?
Yeah, 100%. So there is a essentially 1-to-1 value increase on larger estates. Right now, all our estates are live on our website. They range from a small estate, which is $60, in our round 1 pricing. So that will go up to $120 based on the round that you get whitelisted in. So if any of you guys haven't, or actually, I forgot that everybody in here will or has already gotten whitelisting. I'm not sure if you've already done that, Adam Boy.
No, that's something
But essentially,
we would like to after
oh,
the
okay. I'll let you
yeah.
discuss that at the end then. Apologies for spoiling.
I mean that's okay. No, they're happy.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so we essentially will be providing whitelisting to everybody in this group. I will say our whitelisting will be quite limited. Right now, our plan is to do about 5% of applications with whitelisting. However, there are some collab groups like in here with Syndicate that we will be providing that for all members that essentially just join our Discord. We have a very easy verify bot. You essentially can just verify your role in there and get access. But with that, with the land, it is a 1-to-1 increase in terms of kind of the production of that land. However, there's other benefits to having larger land. So you're able to build larger houses, which have different passive benefits to the land. This is all up on our website if you want to dig more into it. I won't spend a ton of time talking about it. But essentially, larger land does just have inherently better outcomes. There's not really any reason to, for example, buy 5 small estates over 1 medium. The medium is just inherently better. But yeah, and with that, again, the land is hyper modular. So what you do with it is essentially entirely up to you. Larger land allows for quite big houses, and again, fully customizing those houses.
And talking about customization, like, would it be possible, or have you thought about the idea of maybe integrated like other NFT into like the decoration of?
Yeah, 100%. So that's something that we're actually working with Neo Tokyo on right now. Is the idea of essentially having their own collab set in the game. And we're going to be working with a lot of different groups on this, but this is something that's super interesting to us on how can we bring in value from other projects and other NFTs into the Ravendawn universe. Because we do see it as that kind of ecosystem hub. We've already been doing that. We built out essentially a verify bot in our Discord where members can come from other communities and actually verify their role and not having to do it in an intrusive way where we have to like verify an NFT or upload a certain account or thing. It literally just checks for a certain role in that Discord and supplies you the same role in our Discord, which has been pretty cool because, people, if they own a Neo Tokyo citizen, they can come in and they can verify that. And again, literally all they have to do is say !verify in the channel. And it'll cross-reference that role. So incredibly unintrusive. And that's really how we want to build things, right? We want to make sure it's that kind of ecosystem hub.
Yep.
And yeah.
Because I can definitely like see a mask as like an item, like a headset. I see.
Yeah.
The same thought.
And our outfits are also, as mentioned, hyper modular. They're fully, there's no dyeing system or anything like that. You can just completely change the colors on your outfit. We have different cosmetic add-ons, whether they're masks, weapons, stuff like that. So that's definitely something I would love to chat about. But because we're gonna be doing a ton of that stuff and providing that for certain groups. Do they own a piece of land and they're a part of Syndicate, right? How can we get them a mask to represent that? I think stuff. Even. Already we're designing some banners for certain larger NFT groups that on their land they can put a banner. If you look at the large estates, essentially, this is a prototype for that. Here, I'll send it in the channel. But this is essentially a prototype for that on being able to actually fly a flag of that NFT collection you're part of.
Okay.
I think stuff like that's really brings a lot of life to the game.
Yeah, that's true, because you can like show to the other, like to your neighbors, hey, I'm part of that group.
Yeah, 100%.
Let me check my question list. I think something important to mention is, like you said, like it's free to play. And I was like finding quite interesting. Like you can actually try the game without like spending dollars. And can you like elaborate on that?
Yeah. So we feel like right now one of the biggest I think things in the space is coming out with a game first, but also how do you convince people to move from the Web 2 gaming space to the Web 3, right? Because at the end of the day, the space is growing, but how does it grow faster? And really what projects are able to convert people over? I think the first part of that is having a game that people want to play in general. I think that's incredibly important. But the other thing is removing that barrier, right? It's crazy that a lot of these games right now, the biggest reason they can't grow is because the barrier to entry is either too high or just there is a barrier to entry.
Yep.
No one likes to spend money to just try out a game nowadays. And so with that, Ravendawn is fully free to earn. So essentially anyone can download the game and start earning. However, that earning potential is, of course, quite limited based on different factors. So land is a massive part of essentially every economy cycle in the game. It's a huge part of the ecosystem because it is what produces resources in the game world. So land does have very large value in the game and does increase your earning quite a lot. However, we want to make sure, like, how can we first get people in the door, right? How do we get people to download the game and start playing? And having a barrier to entry of, hey, you need to buy 100 of our token, or hey, you need to own X amount of NFTs, that's just not going to convert people, right? And so that's kind of how we're approaching it, and why, you know, we feel like that's really necessary right now to convert people from Web 2 to Web 3, and more so convert people to Ravendawn Eternals. So
yeah, that's a great idea. So they can try and then just say, yeah, I like it, or I don't like it.
Yeah, 100%.
Also, so like they're gonna be Raven cards. What are those, like, with the trade pack?
Yeah, so the other NFTs we have in the game outside of land, land really is king. That's something that, you know, I talk a lot about, but it really is the king kind of NFT in the project. But we also have what are called Raven cards. So a Raven card essentially can be either a creature card or a worker card. You buy them in packs and you open them, and there's 4 creature cards and 1 worker card. The creature cards was kind of inspired by Pokemon. As you guys can see, I'm a Pokemon fan, but also a lot of our team are. More so, you know, a lot of yeah, but definitely our team has always had that nostalgia, like I think a lot from our generation do in general. But we wanted to kind of reimagine that in an MMO, climate, which essentially what we did is every creature in the game has its own Raven card. All of these cards are fully illustrated card arts, kind of bring the personality of the creature to life. But then they also all have a passive benefit to them that further changes your spells. So essentially every spell that you have, you can equip a different card, and those cards will change the spell some way. So whether it adds a burning over time to your fireball, or it adds a chance to stun or a snare. And so it essentially allows for you to further customize those cards. As mentioned, we have over 500 creatures, so we have nearly 500 Raven cards already finished.
Yep.
And with that, those are essentially, different rarities, fully collectible and fully tradable. So.
Okay, and I also see like there's a way of carrying those trade packs.
Yeah. So we also we do have a modular ship and mount system in the game. Essentially, these mounts are obtained through different forms of breeding, and ships are done through what is essentially like breeding, but it's called machinery. But with those ships and the mounts, they're fully modular in the sense that you construct your own ship and can change components of it. So whether it's changing the sail, changing the rudder, changing the weapons on the ship, because we do have fully open world PvP, ships included. Or just change different features. With the mounts, it's very similar. You can change their equipment. You can make them faster, make them carry more. You can also attach wagons to them. Yeah.
That's nice. And with those, guys, with the profession stuff, what is like gonna be? Are there gonna be like any one-of-one for like those NFTs?
Yeah, so right now we have 9 professions of the game. There'll be a 10th one being added quite soon. The profession system runs pretty deep in terms of like how much there is to do with it. They all have their own kind of mini games attached. So whether it's fishing or mining or different forms of crafting, again, those all flow through the estate system as well. So having larger estates allow you to have like blacksmithing workshops, carpentry rooms, stuff like that. And then with that, again, all equipment in the game is player created. So while the equipment themselves aren't NFTs,
yep.
a lot of things do flow through those systems in the game.
And how like the equipment is gonna influence those character and those professions?
Yeah, so equipment primarily impacts the combat cycle. Obviously, to some degree, that also impacts the trade pack cycle, because it is an open world PvP game where when you're transporting trade packs around the game world, players are able to kill you and take those trade packs.
And is there any way to disable that PvP mode or nope?
Yeah, so the way that we've done it in the game is every region has an alternating state of safe to conflict to war mode.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, safe zones, you are able to travel freely through them. However, as mentioned earlier, with our economy cycles on the trade pack side, as certain resources are transported more, the value of them goes down and others go up. But we also have the same with our trade post system. So the different posts around the game world that you bring packs to, as certain routes are ran more, the value of those routes go down and other routes go up. So what we've seen organically play out through our alphas is essentially the states that are in those PvP zones at the time. The trade posts skyrocket in those areas because it's higher risk, but also higher reward. Where the safe zones go down. So what this has allowed is people can safely earn or transport trade packs, but also the players that are really committed to the game and highly strategic, they're able to earn more by participating in those war zones.
Yep. All right. Okay. And like on the website, I saw I think it was like 6 picture of like a sneak peek of land, like different regions. How many regions do you plan to implement in the game, or are they all already?
Yeah, so in terms of regions, we have 15 regions in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, the regions are quite large. But as mentioned, the our design and our art assets are hyper modular, and it allows us to create content incredibly fast. Where a lot of projects could take a year to design a new region or even just a small scale expansion. We're able to design regions quite quickly within just the scale of a month. And I think that's one of our biggest advantages for kind of our roadmap itself is we are able to pump out content very quickly. Just in the last, just from our 4th alpha to our final alpha, we've been able to build out essentially a week's worth of content very quickly. So I think, yeah.
Okay, very, very cool. I think, yeah, on my side, I had like those questions.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's all good. Yeah, if the community doesn't have any questions, we're all good. But I'm happy to sit here and answer anything else.
Because I'm pretty sure like you used to AMA, so the explanations are always like pretty clear and neat.
Yeah, no, I like right now I'm doing like 5 AMAs a day.
Yeah.
So I kind of have my run through, and some communities have more questions, some have less, and that's totally that's completely all good. The other thing to mention, guys, is we love doing these AMAs, just kind of like share a little bit about ourselves in the community directly. But our Discord, we have a question desk in there, and it's almost never that 24 hours go by without us responding in there. Whether it's myself or other community managers stuff, we're hyper responsive with the community and super transparent on stuff we do. So if you guys have any questions that pop into your mind after this, you can just ask us anytime in there. And again, we're very quick to respond. Who's your favorite Pokemon? Mine is Raichu.
One you have in your PFP?
Yeah, the one in my profile picture, yeah.
And that's asking, what did you look out for the economic aspect, actually?
Yeah, so we compile data from virtually every project out there. Again, we have a research team of 4 people, and they went through essentially every single project that's in the space right now, tiered them in lists of how effective their model was, and essentially which ones we could just throw in the trash. Axie obviously being one of those. And from there, that's kind of how we structured our tokenomics and how we built our tokenomics out.
Okay, nice.
Cool, guys. Well, I think with that, looks like the community is pretty good. I do have another AMA here in 20 minutes.
Yeah, no
worries.
But
Adam, do you want to kind of maybe share about just the whitelisting that we're going to provide and stuff, or?
Yep. So for the whitelist guys, so as Niter said, just like mentioned before, we all gonna have the whitelist spots and access.
Yeah, and I think you can just send the link above. I don't remember if we're doing it through the verify bot or not, but if you can just ask Lucy about that in the group chat. But essentially, yeah, everyone in here will be getting a whitelist spot in Ravendawn Eternal. Usually we don't provide that many to a single community. But you guys are doing some cool stuff in here, and just from our background, we would love to work with you guys on something. And again, any questions, guys, like we're super transparent. We love to answer stuff. There's only so many that pop up at an AMA. But if you guys have more questions, just ask in our question desk, and we're happy to get back to you guys. Yeah.
Yep, I reshared like the Discord link in our announcements for
Cool.
for everyone, and I'll let you know, and we'll talk with Lucy to see how we do, if they have to do the verify or no, and or if do I send you a list, and we'll check. But,
Awesome.
It was great to have you, and yeah, enjoy.
Awesome.
The
Thanks
next
so
of
much,
your
guys.
day with those
It was
AMAs.
nice. It was nice chatting with you guys. We'll talk again soon. Okay.
Yep.
See ya. Bye.
See ya.